Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I'm Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Today, we're going over the absolute best Quest 2 games of all time as of November 2022. I'll be arranging this video by genre so you can quickly find whatever you're into, and there are of course links and timestamps to all of today's games. I'll give you a few great examples for each genre, and I'll even let you know about some upcoming releases that you should keep an eye out for. But before we jump in, this video is brought to you by Kiwi Design. Let's face it guys, your Quest 2 needs an elite strap. Why not get one with a battery pack? Kiwi has this amazing one. It's my absolute favorite. It's got this super plush top strap and back strap, making it extra comfy. It's way more durable than what you get from Meta and cheaper. Plus, it's got a massive 6400 milliamp hour battery, which can give you 4+ hours of additional gaming. I highly recommend it, guys. Go check out additional accessories from Kiwi Design. And don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 5% off and to help support my channel. Okay, so your personal opinion may vary, so if I neglect to include one of your favorite titles, please let me know what it is down in the comments. But our first genre up is story-driven experiences. In that category, the Vader Immortal series still remains one of my favorite games. Vader Immortal knows how to use VR to its fullest for some highly immersive storytelling, and there's nothing quite like getting up close and personal with Lord Vader and many other iconic Star Wars characters. The action really kicks up when you get a lightsaber and start using some force powers, and overall it's just a great experience for newbies and VR veterans alike. Now if you're looking for something with more of a serious tone, a larger array of mechanics, brutal combat, and a storyline that you can actually have an impact on, well then you should be playing The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. It's truly impressive what developer Skydance Interactive were able to pull off. You feel fully immersed in the Walking Dead universe as you engage in actions like braining walkers, scavenging for food, covering yourself in walker guts to mask your scent, and dealing with plenty of desperate individuals and feuding factions. Overall, it's a lot more game and complexity than we typically get from a VR title, and if you enjoy this one, you'll absolutely love Saints and Sinners Chapter 2, which releases on December 1st, and includes a new 15+ hour campaign, additional weapons, an expanded crafting system, and more dangerous enemies. Now we're moving into some single-player shooter titles, and our first game could have easily also made it on the story-driven experience list, and that's Resident Evil 4. This classic zombie game that you may have experienced on the PlayStation 2 or GameCube has been completely reworked for VR, and it was done amazingly well. There's a roughly 10-hour campaign, plenty of weapons to unlock and upgrade, a completely over-the-top and pretty insane storyline, plus the Mercenaries add-on that gives this game a lot of replayability. Resident Evil 4 is a top-tier VR title, and as long as you can handle a little bit of horror, I recommend it to basically everyone. Now, if you're just looking for some excellent single-player shooter mechanics, I still absolutely love Robo Recall. This game is all about killing robotic enemies in style. You can catch bullets midair and throw them back, throw your weapon at the enemy to instantly reload it, bobble the bad guys in midair, trip them up while they're trying to run away from you, or even use their own weapons against them. Best of all, you're getting scored throughout this entire process, and you definitely gain a lot of extra points for style. The campaign itself is not very long, but there's plenty of unlockable and upgradable weapons, a high emphasis on replayability, and it's just some of the most fun gun mechanics in any VR title. But if you prefer a shooter that you can play with your friends, well then After the Fall is an easy recommendation. This 4-person co-op title is basically Left 4 Dead, but set in a frozen dystopian world with zombie-like creatures known as Snowbreed. The combat's extremely fast-paced. It's pretty amazing how many enemies they manage to pack on screen at the same time, and when you start playing at the more difficult levels, your team absolutely has to be on point. There's a large array of unlockable and upgradable weapons and player skins. The replayability aspect of this title is extremely high. Besides the campaign mode, there's also PvP and a horde mode, and the developers have been hard at work to keep pumping out new content for us. Now, if sci-fi or zombie slaying isn't really your style, you could also do a co-op campaign in Zero Caliber. This is more of a military style themed game, which may or may not appeal to you more. It's also nice to get a bit more of a campaign and varying objectives, rather than just constantly running and gunning. Again, there's unlockable and upgradable weapons, and a full rank system, helping to add to the game's replayability. Now, if you're looking for a brand new co-op title, I highly recommend the upcoming 4-person game, Gambit VR. It's basically Borderlands meets Left 4 Dead, but there is a lengthy single-player campaign, comical cutscenes, over-the-top vulgarity-laced dialogue, plenty of unlockable weapons, special power-ups for all 4 characters, full parkour sections, plus hidden areas on every single level. I already pumped a few hours into this game, and overall it's a really fun title that I recommend you put on your wish list. Now, if you're looking for PvP shooters, VR is pretty stacked at the moment, and it really comes down to what type of game do you like. Onward is for the military sim fans, Pavlov is basically a Counter-Strike clone, Contractors is more akin to the Battlefield series, and has a huge array of amazing mods, Hyperdash is for the arena shooter fans, and there's Population 1 if you enjoy Battle Royale. Now, if you wanted something like Rainbow Six Siege, the alpha for Breachers is now available on the Quest 2, and it's from the same studio that gives us Hyperdash, so I have some really high hopes for this title. But if shooters aren't your style and you're looking for an RPG game, the first title I'd recommend is Journey of the Gods. While most of the RPG aspects in this game are pretty light, it's still a really fun experience that knows how to make VR shine. You'll have the ability to pop out of your character and get a godlike view that you'll be able to utilize to solve puzzles. You'll also face off against some giant creatures, which just looks absolutely fantastic in VR. Now, if you'd prefer a JRPG, you have to check out Runes Magus. It features some excellent Zelda-like graphics, awesome VR fighting mechanics that'll have you reflecting projectiles back at the enemy, a lengthy campaign, some cute storytelling, and some epic bosses to battle. Now, if you're looking for a co-op RPG, unfortunately the Quest doesn't have many options, but Demeo does slightly fall into this category, and it's just an overall excellent game. It's a strategic tabletop RPG where up to 4 players get to choose from 6 distinct characters and battle your way across 4 separate adventures. The combat is fierce and extremely strategic, and it just feels so good when you finally succeed on an adventure. The developers have been hard at work on this title. They've added a social hub, a character painter, full AR mode, and Adventure 5 is coming soon. Now, if you're looking to get lost in a VR world for as long as possible, then you're most likely looking for an MMO, and that of course would bring you to Zenith. Zenith takes place in a Japanese anime-style world where you get to choose from 2 separate classes, interact with hundreds of people online, battle through countless enemies and raids, grind your way to top level and getting the best gear. Plus, there's also a cooking system, and they recently introduced a creature capturing and pet system. The newest update also changes the first few hours of gameplay, making it a bit more story-oriented and enhancing the game's first impressions. But if mechanically this game doesn't do it for you, you might want to check out a Township Tale. While this is much more of an MMO light, it does have some really cool mechanics that might appeal to certain people. There's a truly large emphasis on exploration and crafting, and the title never gave me that whole this world is fake MMO feeling. You know, that whole run here, kill 5 guys, and then run back, rinse and repeat, plus landscapes populated with enemies that just stand around, and the only thing they do is attack you when you get too close. The world itself in a Township Tale just feels a bit more realistic. Now, if you don't care about realism and you just want to blast some stuff, we have the wave shooter genre, which is also quite populated. One of my personal all-time favorites is Space Pirate Trainer. It's wave after wave of increasingly difficult enemy drones. There's a large array of weapons that you could switch to on the fly, an absolutely pumping soundtrack, and a surprising amount of combat strategy. Certain enemies are way more susceptible to different attacks. There's a shield on your back that can be used to deflect lasers, and there's also a wide array of power-ups. If you just want some casual fun, I highly recommend this game. Just like the next wave shooter, Mother Gunship Forged. Rather than just wave after wave of enemy, this game adds multiple new mechanics. You'll find and upgrade weapon parts throughout each run that you could use to build some pretty crazy weapons. There's also a co-op and gauntlet mode if you want to play with or against one of your friends. So if you enjoy the concept of wave shooters or want more depth and replayability, definitely go check out Mother Gunship Forged. Now, if you want a wave shooter that's truly unique, we have Superhot, which almost plays like a puzzle title. As enemies only move when you move, they usually need to be eliminated in a special sequence, or you'll have to quickly locate a weapon to fight back. You'll also have to work on your dodging skills, and every single second will count. But if you're not looking to physically dodge bullets, maybe you'd prefer a platformer and you're in luck, because Moss Book 1 and 2 is absolutely magical. Quill is a mouse protagonist that you will absolutely fall in love with. The story is surprisingly deep, the graphics are excellent, the combat is tight, and the puzzles are head-scratching. I honestly thought I'd never enjoy this game, but for years now, Moss Book 1 has remained one of my favorite VR titles, and Moss Book 2 is even better than the original. Now, there are a few other Quest 2 platformers out there, like Lucky's Tale and Ven VR Adventure, but unfortunately, they're just not as good and don't have the same charm as Moss. Now, if you want to play in the sandbox and make your own fun, we have the brand new physics-based shooter Bone Lab. Bone Lab gives you a multi-hour campaign, but it basically acts as an extended tutorial for all the different gameplay modes. There's parkour series, physics-based combat, shooting ranges, tactical trials, and even some wacky experimental stuff. If you just like to turn on a game and make your own fun, there's probably nothing better than Bone Lab. There's now a full avatar swapping mechanic. We'll adjust both the physics and the attributes of your character, putting a huge new spin on the title. Now, if you prefer your sandbox to be fantasy-themed, we have Blade and Sorcery Nomad. Jump into the arena, select your weapons, decapitate your enemies, blast them with spells, and just have lots and lots of fun. While the developers have been adding more campaign-like elements to this title, it still remains very much just a sandbox. After you get bored with the vanilla combat, there's plenty of awesome mods to check out online, which will give you countless hours of extra playtime in this game. Speaking of extra playtime, rhythm games are about as addictive as VR can be, and the obvious most popular title there is Beat Saber. With songs that'll take you days to master, and countless new DLC packs constantly releasing, Beat Saber might be the only VR game you ever need to play. If you prefer a rhythm game with guns that makes you feel like John Wick, you should check out Pistol Whip, or if you prefer something that makes you feel like you're dancing, there's Synth Riders. All of these are excellent choices for the rhythm genre, and it really just comes down to what you prefer more. Moving into puzzle titles, we have the Red Matter series. Not only is the game strikingly beautiful, it has a truly intriguing storyline and a fairly lengthy campaign. The puzzles in the original Red Matter are definitely harder than the sequel, which went for more of a mainstream approach, but honestly, they are both excellent games. If you want a puzzle title with a less serious tone, then I highly recommend the I Expect You to Die series. It's basically a series of spy-themed escape rooms where you'll constantly die in an unexpected manner. The sequel is definitely the better title, but they're both an easy recommendation to basically anyone. Now, if you're looking for some horror games, I already mentioned Saints and Sinners in the beginning of this video, so while it definitely belongs in this genre, I'm gonna skip it for now and move on to Lies Beneath. An interesting storyline delivered in comic book style fashion with graphics to match, some absolutely creepy moments, and some very satisfying combat. If you enjoy something on the spookier side that isn't full of jump scares, then go ahead and throw Lies Beneath on your wish list, and I recommend playing this title with some headphones. Another excellent horror game to experience is Jurassic World Aftermath. It features that cel-shaded style graphics that work so well in VR. They do an excellent job recreating the Jurassic Park theme world. The storyline is interesting, there's some excellent mechanics, and playing cat and mouse with a pack of velociraptors never gets old. Usually in a title like this, once you get caught once or twice, the anxiety tends to wear off, but Jurassic World somehow manages to keep things intense. Just like our next survival title, Into the Radius. Mechanically similar to Saints and Sinners, this is another full package title. You're trapped in a dystopian world filled with creatures, scavenging for food and supplies, and unraveling a deep mystery. The lengthy campaign will give you a large array of mission objectives, and there's really nothing else out there quite like this title. Like many other survival titles, it can be quite unforgiving, but it's definitely worth a challenge. Just like getting lost in the Amazon in Green Hell. Green Hell is a serious case of trial by fire. After a fairly calm introduction and some story building narrative where you learn the ropes of the game, things are suddenly turned upside down and you'll be stranded in the Amazon jungle, forced to use your surroundings for survival. As you'd expect, there's plenty of ways to die, everything from mundane starvation and falling off a cliff to being murdered by wildlife or native Amazonians. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, this is a survival title that I highly recommend. Now, since we're discussing dying frequently, we should move right into the roguelite genre. This one's pretty stacked, and there's something for everyone. In Death Unchained is an extremely challenging, gothic-themed journey through the afterlife that can definitely put a chill down your spine. The bow mechanics in this title are top-notch, and it features a unique teleportation system. There's also multiple different game modes, the developers are constantly releasing new content, and it's just an overall great game. Just like another one of my favorite titles, Until You Fall. This roguelite features absolutely amazing melee mechanics, and it's physically intense. My heart rate has gone over 160 playing this title, and I usually go into a full sweat somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes in. There's plenty of amazing weapons to unlock and upgrade, and they all come with different styles and strategies. So if you're looking for a physically intense roguelite that'll have you moving around, this is your game. Alternatively, you could pick up the bullet hell roguelite Yuki. Yuki has you holding an action figure in your hand, dodging obstacles and enemy projectiles, all while trying to collect as many power-ups as possible. The boss fights are extremely intense and will have you moving back and forth across your room, and overall it's a fantastic combination of mechanics. Leveling up and unlocking new characters is also a nice treat, and this is definitely a unique title. Now, if you're just looking to jump into the arena and hack up your enemies, we have two great games for that, both with very different styles. Gorn features some very cartoony graphics and physics, and while it's extremely slapstick, it's also excessively brutal. You'll be dismembering your enemies, impaling them on spikes, and just making giant puddles of blood. Now, Swordsman VR, on the other hand, has a much more serious tone and a lot more depth. You'll be fighting waves of historically themed enemies like knights and samurais or Vikings, and you have a character leveling system where you can increase your stats over time. Plus, there's a large array of weapons and armor, and even a little bit of magic in there. Now, if you're looking to use VR in a party setting, and you want to try something besides just Beat Saber, the Quest has a handful of great group games. The first one is the bomb defusal task, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. The VR player is handling a briefcase bomb and will have to follow instructions from people outside of VR who can't see what they're doing but have manuals on how to defuse the bomb. These bombs are extra tricky though, and require some high level communication. If that's too much for you, we have Acron Attack of the Squirrels. Again, the VR gamer will stand alone, playing as a tree, protecting its nuts, and everyone else can join in from their phone, trying to outwit the VR player. But if you want to up the intensity even more, Reiki's Fragment is an absolutely fantastic horror-themed party game. The VR user is trying to escape a haunted house, and up to 8 people can join in from their phones, gaining the ability to activate jump scares. This might not be right for everybody, but it's definitely a great time. Now, the last title is definitely a group game, but not one you play in person, and that's Among Us. The ultimate challenge of strategy and deception, Among Us will have you looking over your shoulder as you're currently trying to repair your space station, but at least one member of the crew is an imposter, hell-bent on murdering everyone. If you're not familiar with Among Us, I highly recommend you go look it up. It's extremely fun to play with your friends, but just be warned they might not remain your friends after you stab them in the back a couple times. Okay, so let's move into sports games, and this is another pretty stacked genre. If you're a fan of football simulation, we have NFL Pro Era, which will have you taking the field, running the ball, and doing some passing plays. Walkabout Mini Golf is an extremely popular and an absolutely fantastic mini golf title that somehow keeps pumping out more and more amazing maps. The physics are spot on, and even if you don't truly enjoy mini golf, it's just a fun social experience that you could jump into and hang out with your friends. And the Quest also has the majority of indoor sports covered, like table tennis with 11 table tennis, and there's also Forever Darts, Forever Bowling, and Forever Pool, so if you're into any of those games, these are right up your alley. Now, there's not many true simulation titles for the Quest, and the closest games out there are Ultra Wings and Warplanes World War I. Ultra Wings puts you in an open world and has you flying an array of different planes across multiple different mission objectives. Warplanes is a World War I era dogfighting style title. You'll take to the skies and battle other planes across 2 separate and extremely diverse campaigns. There's 20 different planes, both single player and co-op modes, and even online PvP. Okay guys, that's the majority of my recommendations for the Quest, and I do have a few more applications that I want to mention, but they're just not exactly games. If you're looking to work out in VR, I recommend either Supernatural or Les Mills Body Combat. If you're looking for social applications, the obvious ones are Rec Room and VR Chat. Some other apps that you might want to check out is the online movie theater Big Screen, streaming services like Netflix and Amazon Prime, and finally World, which is basically a VR version of Google Maps that you can explore with a friend. Now, I'm sure I missed someone's favorite game or even a full genre, so let me know what it is down in the comments right now. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And as always, I'll see you guys on next time.